Okay, perfect. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I've got a long history of thinking bigger. Um,
Yeah,
so I've decided, if it's okay with you, what I'm going to do,
yeah,
just to backtrack, I've done
yeah,
all this research into the mathematics, right? Um,
right,
I've visited India 3 times to do some lectures um,
right.
in ancient Indian mathematics and its superiority to Western mathematics. I would have been in India now, except for coronavirus. I've been attempting to contact India's education minister and get the attention of the prime minister and so on to let them know that I'm around here to help India fix its maths curriculum. But that seems a bit tough. So what I'm going to mention is I'm going to offer free online training
Right.
to maths tutors in India who want to learn how to teach Podometic and make a living from it.
Okay.
And I'm going to start off offering this free online mastermind training to 500 people in India, absolutely free. And
That's great.
after that training, they will be able to be an accredited Podometic teacher for grades or classes 1 to around about 7 or 8. So
Yeah.
I
So,
think that,
what is Podometic according to you?
well, Podometic is India's upgrade of British arithmetic. So India used to lead the world in mathematics and also GDP. Around about 2,000 years ago, India had around about 1/3 of the world's GDP. Absolutely, it was the richest country on the planet. But what happened is under colonial rule from the British Empire, pretty much India's wealth was stifled, and it was also taken by the British colonists. Um, so if India is to be the success it used to be 2,000 years ago, it's only going to be through innovation that leads to scientific breakthroughs, and that innovation will come through education. And the most
Right.
important thing for India to fix right now in 2020 is its mathematics education, because so often that provides the foundation for the sciences, technologies, the engineerings, the medicines, and so on. Mathematics is the platform upon which all of that future wealth is going to be unlocked, whether it's quantum computing, artificial intelligence, other forms of programming, technology-based. India needs to get its maths fixed so children can participate in the wealth creation that will make India a Vishvaguru again, or a world teacher again,
Yeah.
that it used to be. So India used to have a very rich scientific and cultural and mathematical um, uh, personality. Its culture was just magnificent in science and mathematics and in spirituality as well. That's kind of been lost a little bit because of the influence of the colonists of the British Empire, which India is not alone. I mean, I live in
Yeah.
Australia. At the moment, you're in Canada, in Ontario. So
Yeah.
we used to both be colonies of the British. And so the
Right.
mathematics, it doesn't matter what the indigenous people were doing, either in Canada or in Australia, we are taught British mathematics. The only
Great.
problem is that um, the best mathematics was created by Indians, in particular 3 gentlemen, Āryabhaṭa, Bhāskara and Brahmagupta. And unless we actually go back to the original geniuses of India who had all of the foundations of mathematics correct, that linked in with the foundations of physics as well, unless we go back to the
Right.
and the teachings of Āryabhaṭa, Bhāskara and Brahmagupta in particular, we're not going to be able to lift India's children up in their understanding of mathematics. As you might know, because I've talked about it before, in the last international assessment, out of 74 countries that participated, India came second last in mathematics, ahead of only Kyrgyzstan. Now, I feel that that's a crime because India invented mathematics. It created this wonderful base 10 system of zero as a number. Brahmagupta created all these laws involving zero, positives and negatives. But unfortunately, the original mathematics of India got lost. And the world has never really understood how Indian mathematics is meant to be explained and how it connects into the laws of physics.
Yeah, so same India, which used to be the epitome or like epicenter of knowledge in ancient times. So it's very sad to see that got lost. But thanks for explaining that. But what made you to start this? What led you to become so much involved in this research about Podometic? So if you can.
Okay, well, nearly all mathematics professors and mathematics teachers enjoyed mathematics at school, and they were good at it, which is why they ended up studying mathematics and lecturing or teaching mathematics. My journey has been the opposite. Back in 1968, in class 2, when I was 7 years old, I had a bit of an argument with my teacher, and she was explaining multiplication, and she explained it incorrectly. Now, what happened was she was teaching the same definition of multiplication that the English had been teaching since the year 1570. And I noticed that the definition of and the explanation of multiplication that my teacher had given me was wrong. And it's really very strange that at the age of 7, I was confused by mathematics because India's zero was missing from my class 2 teacher's explanation of multiplication. And because her explanation didn't have India's zero, I was confused. I argued with her, and as it turned out, I was correct. And for hundreds of years, since 1570 to 1968, so almost 400 years after the definition of multiplication had been created by the English, I pointed out how silly it was to my teacher. Unfortunately, I was just a boy, age 7, and so my teacher tried to explain further. She confused me even more, and so therefore I started to think I was stupid at mathematics. And what happened is in 1983, I was involved in an accident where a truck made an illegal turn in front of me, and my spine was shattered. And so when I was in hospital, in intensive care, I was told by my surgeon that I might never walk again. And I had really, my life was potentially going to change dramatically. At that time, I was a student at the University of Melbourne, and I was studying economics. I didn't enjoy mathematics. I ended up getting an A for mathematics at school when I left, but I really hated it right throughout my schooling, and it was a bit of a struggle for me. But when I was confronted with the possibility of never being able to walk again, possibly not having children, I made a prayer to God. I made a promise to God that if I could walk and have children, that would be my own miracle. So if I was able to walk again, the miracle I would give the world back would be to fix mathematics.
Wow.
I don't really understand why I made that promise, because I didn't like mathematics. And I think that because I felt that mathematics was such a struggle and caused so many children so much stress and anxiety and sadness, I thought the best gift would be to try and get rid of all of that stress and anxiety and sadness that mathematics created, because it was wrong mathematics from the British. So I just thought, in a way, if it was to be, it's up to me. I'll do something remarkable if I can walk again. And so I decided, dear God, if you let me walk and have kids, I'll fix mathematics. It was as simple as me making that prayer in an intensive care ward of a hospital, not knowing what my future was going to hold for me. So really, as you know, I regained my health, and I now have 3 happy, healthy, successful children. And so I made a promise, and I got my miracle in the mid-1980s, in 1983, when I was able to learn how to walk again. So I've just kept my promise. It's really as simple as somebody making a promise to do something and keep working to keep their promise. Now, it was only my own promise to myself and to God in my own head. But what happened is, after I finished my economics degree, I went into a management consultancy firm, and I got rapid promotions, and I then quit after 3 years of working in management consulting, after getting a degree from the University of Melbourne in economics. And I quit my job to tutor children in mathematics. So from 1983, I was starting to do my homework and my research. I would go to the state library here and look up all books on mathematics prodigies to see if they had any secrets. I started looking into all of the speed maths books that were around, the Vedic maths system, the Trachtenberg speed maths system. I studied mathematics prodigies to see if they had any secrets, but I really didn't get any true understanding in how mathematics worked. They were mainly about tricks to do calculations. And I got very good at doing the tricks myself. I got lots of newspaper publicity for not just the tricks that I did with the mathematics. So I used to have the goal of being the fastest mathematician in the world, to be like another Shakuntala Devi, who wrote The Joy of Figuring, which was one of my early books.
Shakuntala Devi,
Yeah. So I wanted to be like a super fast mathematician, but I couldn't quite break the world record to be the fastest. And the challenge that I was doing was to multiply 2 10-digit numbers together in my head. So I'd have 2 10-digit numbers written down, and I would just write down the answer with no workings. And I went on TV, I got lots of newspaper articles, and very often the reason why people were interested in my teachings in mathematics was that I would get all of my students to close their eyes, and I would teach mathematics where all the students had their eyes shut. So that stopped the children being distracted. So if you can get rid of the distractions from children, then you've got their full attention. If you then get those children to close their eyes and to follow what's called creative visualization, you can create the blackboard or the whiteboard in the mind of the child. So I would tell the children stories about mathematics that they were following along and imagining with me, with colors and action and movement and so on. And those became very memorable stories because the children had directed their own movies in their mind to follow the story of mathematics that I was sharing with them. So
That's really amazing.
I don't know
Yeah.
of anyone else who has taught mathematics in that way. But the problem, Nitin, was that still I was teaching the same mathematics that had been taught for hundreds of years. I wasn't teaching anything fundamentally new. I was teaching in a very different way, for sure. It was a very bizarre way to teach and very effective, but I was still teaching the same old mathematics. So
Right.
it really it took me a very, very long time to really start to explore mathematics through many different cultures, many different languages. And what I was trying to do all this time was really just understand mathematics as if I was the age of, say, 6 to 10 years of old, 6 to 10. So I didn't want to reveal truths in trigonometry or calculus. I just wanted to help the children that were my age when I got confused by mathematics. And one of the realizations was, let me backtrack.
Your voice was breaking a bit. I don't know, audio system recording. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but a slight disturbance is there in between.
Okay. My apologies for that. If it gets bad, I'll change location. So just let me know, and we can pause this talk, and I'll move somewhere else.
Yeah, it is actually home. Breaking. Yeah, even it's continuing to break.
Let me move, and hopefully that will be better.
Yeah.
It's the advantage of having a laptop.
Yeah.
Hey, this is almost like a strange little reveal. I've just come through the curtains. This is usually where you'd wave to people. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just sit down here at the dining room table. Okay, is the audio any better now?
Yeah, it's much better. It's much better. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
So it's great to know about that, what you just explained. Like most of the people, they lose out of mathematics, and they they become less self-confident, and they end up blaming themselves that they have some issues with themselves because they are not getting the concepts of mathematics. But rarely in the world, in centuries, like somebody who challenges the system, the way mathematics was taught. And hats off to you that you did it, and you not only did challenge, but you also started teaching mathematics. First you started teaching into the original mathematics in a different, unique manner. Mm-hmm. And you also thought about something something different in mathematics. So and which you proudly call it Podometic. So what is the best way to get started with Podometic?
Okay, well, Podometic is the replacement for arithmetic. So arithmetic is really the mathematics of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division on the integers. So the positives and negatives. So really the simplest way is to go to my website. I've got lots of lectures there, slideshow presentations that I've given at universities and maths conferences. There are also videos there. And this website is simply www.podometic.in. So it's all of the knowledge that I've accumulated over the last 37 years, I'm putting up on that website, podometic.in. So there are lots of links there. So I've got some early content up there. So if you look at class 1, I've got a couple of videos to give some initial ideas on how to start explaining mathematics to children in class 1. and people will notice that some of the ideas in those videos are quite different to what they might have been expecting. I don't think that it's not completely ready yet. Not everything is on the Podometic website, but my goal is that from December 2020, I'll release my first free ebook for India, which will be for class 1. And then every few months, I'll release another ebook free of charge for class 2, class 3, and so on. So I've got the ebook release schedule up on the podometic.in website. But basically, if they go there, everything that I've done, I mean, very often you might see a video in a lecture, but it's very rare that that maths professor will give you all of the slides from his maths lecture. But right. I give you everything. So all of the slides, all of my presentations can be downloaded. And the reason why is that I want people to understand how mathematics actually works. And that's the joy that I get. I've had testimonials from people in more than 70 countries around the world, because I've done online lessons in mathematics. And when I see what people say about how they feel about the mathematics that they start to learn for the first time, grown men cry because they have for decades felt stupid because they didn't understand mathematics at school.
Right.
And it's an interesting thing because I had the same feeling. I thought that I was pretty slow at school because I seemed to struggle with mathematics. One of my mathematics teachers in class 11, he said to me, "Jonathan, don't worry. Mathematics is only confusing if you think about it." And now that seems crazy. It's like you're not meant to think about mathematics. You're just meant to memorize all of the laws and the rules. Like a trained chimpanzee, we're meant to just robotically do what we're told with no thinking.
Yeah.
And that was my problem. When I was at school, I was actually trying to understand how it all worked. And I couldn't understand how it all worked because the ways that the mathematics was being explained were incorrect. And so what I believe now is that if you struggled with mathematics, if you found mathematics confusing at school, then that shows you are an intelligent person.
Wow.
Because the person who doesn't care about mathematics or doesn't think too deeply about it will just do what they're told. They are right. Obedient learners, right? They are repeaters. All they do is repeat what they've been told to repeat, and they get full marks for getting a number correct. And they have no insight that they can take from that mathematics and apply in the real world, because it's all just laws, and they've crammed all of these things they've had to memorize into their mind to pass the exam, and then it just disappears. But the person who struggles with the mathematics is the person who's thinking more deeply about it. How does that work? Why is that so? And because the explanations are wrong, they will never understand it. And so I was totally shocked that when I left my job as a management consultant, they gave me the results of my psychology report, because the final part of the job interview process is you had to go through a psychological appraisal to see if you were suited to the job. The final sort of shortlisting phase. And so when I left my job in management consulting, they finally gave me the copy of the psychologist's report on me. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it, because I thought I was a really slow learner and not very bright. but the psychologist's report revealed to me that I was in the top 1% of the population for things like verbal logic, mechanical reasoning, and so on. So
Amazing.
I had a very, very good grasp of logic. I had a really good grasp of mechanical reasoning. How could a child in the top 1% of the population for logic and understanding mechanical reasoning, how could they struggle at mathematics? It made no sense. The reason was that the mathematics is not logical, it is not structured correctly, and it doesn't agree with the laws of physics that we experience every single day of our lives. So I think that then gave me some confidence to really decide to fix mathematics. I quit my job because of my promise that I had made in hospital to give it a go. But by having that sort of new confidence that I wasn't stupid, it was only the fact that mathematics had made me feel stupid. That was very liberating. And when I meet many successful people, and a lot of very successful people, they admit to me that they were never very good at mathematics, or that they didn't have a head for figures, or that somehow I'm just not a numbers person, or maybe I wasn't as bright as some of the other students. But then I just talk to them, and I just, in about 10 minutes time, it's almost like I'm a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because that person feels totally different about their sense of self-esteem, because they suddenly realize for the first time that mathematics that they taught at school had scarred them unnecessarily. And that if they had the correct information, all of the mathematics would have fallen into place. It would have been something they could understand, and it wouldn't have necessarily held them back from pursuing the career that they would have rathered to have. Because if you don't do well at mathematics, then very often you can't really pursue the career that you would have liked to have pursued. So
absolutely. In science, geography, anywhere, not only just in mathematics, even in finances, everywhere mathematics is utilized. So so it's like people with low esteem in mathematics, ultimately they end up destroying their career. So that's a great thing. Which so like you were talking about Podometic. So like just wanted to understand, like, if there is one secret you have to share with us about Podometic, what would that be?
I think that the one secret is a one-word answer. And that one-word answer is symmetry.
Wow.
Okay. Now, symmetry in mathematics is something that mathematicians strive to understand with things like group theory, and they battle with problems called the monster. And they really have to understand symmetry in order to understand the absolutely most complex mathematics that there is. Okay, now physicists, what do they say? What do cosmologists say? They say that in understanding our universe, the most important thing that keeps on seeming to unlock problems in our understanding is finding symmetry. Okay? And it seems to be that most of the problems in physics, most of the problems in higher mathematics are caused by something called asymmetry, where they only have half of the puzzle. So if we start off with symmetry in the classroom from class 1 as an overriding concept, the mathematics that children start to learn with Podometic in class 1 is based on the principle of symmetry, where up and down, left and right, hot and cold, negative and positive. The principles of symmetry are that if you take one of each opposing quantity and combine them together, they sum to zero. And so there are theories of the zero-sum universe. There are concepts of the universe appearing from zero. And it's almost like unpacking a zero into matter and antimatter. We think about things like positrons and electrons, fundamental particles in physics. Well, an electron is negatively charged, a positron is positively charged, and we count those particles with the same numbers. So symmetry, I think, if we understand symmetry in mathematics, then everything starts to become really simple. And yet, the way that we're taught mathematics, there's no symmetry because it's all been based on only one half of the number line, which we now call the positive numbers. The mathematics came to us from the ancient Greeks via the West and the British Empire in particular, and they were really trapped by philosophy about theories of numbers. But the mathematics that came from India was really formulated by astronomers. And they were scientists and they were observers. And so the mathematics that people like Brahmagupta and Āryabhaṭa wrote up, their laws of mathematics were really documenting what they saw about how the universe worked. And the universe is essentially driven by principles of symmetry. So that's the one sort of secret. And that is that if you had a child and if you said, okay, I want you to walk 5 kilometers north, and then when you get there, I want you to walk 5 kilometers negative north. The child would go, what? You mean south? Oh, okay, yeah, south. Yeah. The way that we've structured our number system in the West is we don't have the word south. We say you go north and then you go negative north. And it's like you have positive numbers and then you have negative numbers. No, you just have directed numbers. You have opposite quantities. And some of the simplest ideas that you can teach young children are based on the principle of symmetry and the laws of physics, like the principle of the conservation of matter and energy. Those are really advanced physics ideas, and yet they're completely consistent with the 18 laws of Brahmagupta, which are very easily taught to very little children. And I always have people who say they show my cartoons to little children, and the children love the cartoons, and they're understanding exactly what's going on in the cartoons, even though the cartoons are explaining negative quantities and positive quantities and manipulating those quantities. The children don't understand that they're learning mathematics. They're just enjoying the cartoons, but they're seeing with their eyes the relationships between quantities. And they're getting that rock solid intuition and number sense by seeing things with their eyes that are obviously common sense to them.
Right.
So in a way, just as the astronomers created their mathematics to support what they were seeing with their eyes, we can have children create their own firm understandings of quantities and numbers of quantities by seeing with their own ideas, with their own eyes, what's going on with these cartoon stories. So the picture storybooks I'm writing about Podometic, they have cartoon characters, and the children see the animals having various adventures and having to solve different puzzles. And so the children will understand the cartoons. And then the parent or the teacher can count the objects in the cartoons. And the children will be able to relay the stories of the cartoons as well. And you can introduce counting. And then suddenly all of the counting of the negatives and counting of the positives and adding negatives, and it all becomes really super simple. And Nitin, I know I'm talking a lot, but if I can just give you one example. If you just imagine that you had a child with a bucket and a spade, that child would be on a flat surface, ground level 0, and that child can dig one hole and fill up the bucket with the sand and make a brick. Right. So we've changed ground level 0. We now have one hole and we have one brick. And the child understands that because the child can understand how a bucket and a spade works. Right. Now, what we've done is we've rearranged 0 into ground level 0 into one brick and one hole. And we can do all of these games with bricks and holes that then become a model for Brahmagupta's laws of integers. So for example, imagine if a child had dug a hole that was 7 deep. That's a very deep hole. And imagine if that child had a stack of bricks 4 high. Okay, so if I ask the child to imagine what would happen, and these children can have their eyes shut. Imagine if you put a stack of 4 bricks in a hole 7 deep, would it fill up the hole? Well, the children would say, no, it doesn't fill up the hole. And if I say, well, what would happen then? What do you think is happening? And they'd say, well, it's still got a hole. And I'd say, well, how deep is the hole now? And they'd say the hole's now 3 deep because it was 7 deep, but I filled it up with 4 bricks. So now it's 3 deep. And what we're doing is we can have a teacher or an older brother, sister, just explain, okay, well, if we counted, we had 7 holes and 4 bricks ends up giving us 3 holes. And the bricks become the metaphor for positives, the holes become metaphors for negatives, and then children can have no problems adding and subtracting the integers, the positive and negative numbers. And there are a couple of other little stories that you can do where what happens if you've got -4 minus -7. Well, that's very confusing. That's really difficult for everyone to understand, even as adults, -4 minus -7. But the children will solve that just with their bucket and spade in their mind and come up with the answer of +3 because they've got the correct foundations. And those sorts of ideas go back to the Indus Valley civilization, the Harappan area of ancient India, because they used to do a lot of manufacturing with bricks, and this is long before the Shilpa Sutras. So if you think about the history of India, what they did with their constructions, with either their buildings or their sacrificial altars or their astronomy, all of the foundations of maths are there. And it's unfortunately just not made available to children in a very simple way.
Absolutely.
That teaches them the basic foundations of mathematics. If you get children confident in totally understanding why negative into negative is positive, then nothing's going to stop them.
Right. Yeah, I think this is the reason why Indians, they're not able to figure out how their forefathers created such a marvelous, architectures thousands of years back. So even now, because they're lacking the mathematics knowledge of their time. So, I mean, thanks for explaining all these things. And sometimes I feel like it's like too good to be true. I mean, not only me, like anybody can if they feel. So, is there any catch?
Look, the catch is where people always ask me, where's the money? when are you going to start making the money? I became rich back in 1983 when I was able to walk again. Now, imagine if I became very rich and suddenly I had the choice of I could either keep all my money or keep walking and enjoying life. What would I do? I'd give all that money away in a heartbeat if I was able to walk, if I had the choice of being in a wheelchair for the rest of my life or being able to jog, run, swim, whatever. So I was gifted just so much wealth back in 1983 by getting my miracle when I was in hospital. I haven't been money focused. Now, it may well be that money may come some way in the future, but that's not the promise that I made. I made the promise to God to fix mathematics. I didn't make a promise to myself to become one of the richest people on the planet. Look, I sometimes say to people, you know, why would I want to make money when I can make history?
Yeah.
I want every child in the world to start learning Podometic. Now, it may not happen in my lifetime, but I'm sure going to try to get as many people to realize how clever they really are. Yeah. And how much joy they can have with mathematics, because mathematics causes so much pain and heartache. It really should cause so much joy and sheer exhilaration and just power you up to do so many things for the rest of your life. So, look, the only thing I need to do is to just cover my costs and pay my way. So all of my lectures are free. When I lecture in India, I don't charge anyone to come and attend my lectures. If somebody would pay my transport to move around India and provide my basic accommodation, I will talk about mathematics every day of my life to anybody who will listen to me. It's, in a way, it's not really my mathematics anyway. It's actually your mathematics, India. So wow. I'm returning it to India. It's not mine to sell. It's India's to share, both with its own children and with the rest of the world. Because, you know, it's just a fluke of history that Brahmagupta's original writings on the laws of mathematics got lost somewhere before they got to the Arabic world. They never went to Europe. And so the world really does not understand that when I'm changing mathematics, I am doing a massive innovation in simplifying what is at the moment very complicated, all about memorizing laws and rules. The laws and rules are required, and all the formulas are required to make sure the bridges don't fall down, because the mathematics that we're being taught needs to have all of these bug fixes and workarounds applied to them. And those bug fixes and workarounds are the laws and rules of mathematics. And I say to professors, can you explain mathematics without all the laws and the rules? And they say, no, because mathematics is laws and rules. No, the laws and the rules are actually bug fixes and workarounds to force the numbers to be correct, because the real truth of mathematics is hidden from view. So we had a big innovation when we dropped Roman numerals and when we went to Hindu numerals, or, you know, some people in the West call them the Hindu Arabic numerals. I'm proposing a really big revolution again. We keep all our current digits and base 10, but we fix the concepts. So that's where it's really important that people understand I'm not teaching Vedic mathematics. I don't care about shortcut tricks to multiply 98 by 99. Exactly. Or to do special case number solutions to solve quick problems that look like magic, but they don't really give you any real insight on the structural foundations of mathematics. What I've spent so much of my life on, I mean, bear in mind, I'm 59 now, and I noticed problems 52 years ago. So I've been thinking about mathematics and trying to understand it at the basic level, primary school level, for more than half a century. So I should have something interesting to share after about 50 years of thinking about mathematics.
Right.
Most mathematics professors never think about primary level mathematics again.
Correct.
Their heads are totally focused on the more and more complicated, the complexity, which is relevant to fewer and fewer people. But the
Right.
very first ideas of positives and negatives and the basic laws of how mathematics works, that is relevant to everyone on the planet.
That's
So
amazing.
I've had to focus and hold in my enthusiasm for mathematics because I keep on going towards interesting geometry, probably because it's visual and I'm a visual person. But I have to say, no, don't start playing on trigonometry and don't start playing on the algebra. Keep it simple and just get it right. So that's what I've been focusing on. So there's no catch, there's no gotcha. I just want people to be happy and to find the love and joy of mathematics. And if I can travel the world lecturing in mathematics, that would be an absolute gift. And that's really what I've been doing since 2017, is starting to travel and give lectures. And it doesn't matter if I have an audience of mathematics professors or young students from primary school. The ideas are the same. The professors are learning new ideas just as the children are. And the professors want the very best for their students, and their students may well be future teachers.
Right.
But they just don't have this information. And so I say, look, you want the best for your students. You want the best, but here's information that you're not aware of. Now, let me just explain to you of what used to go on in ancient China and ancient India. And let me just draw some pictures and just follow along with your eyes. And everything that you see with your eyes is going to be perfectly logical. And guess what? They start to realize that the laws of mathematics they've been teaching, possibly for decades, that they were taught by their teachers before them for centuries, that those laws are wrong. So we're born hardwired for mathematics. And at the age of 6 months, toddlers can do remarkable things with mathematics before they can talk. And children are very visual before they go to school.
Right.
They understand proportion, they understand counting. But then what happens is the way that children get taught at school, it shuts down all of the parts of the brain that is actually so useful for learning mathematics. So I teach in a whole brain way. I teach through, what people say is both sides of the brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Left brain, right brain, creativity, color, music, imagination, as well as the standard approaches with all the digits and the calculations. That's really the secret to the having people enjoy the mathematics.
That's really great, and so glad to hear these things from you. I'll say gold mines. These are not only words of wisdom; these are gold mines. So hats off to you for your work. So I just wanted to understand, like, where people can find all these things, and whatever work you have done and whatever your publications are, and how people can contact you.
Okay. Well, I've got two main websites at the moment, which really I've just been keeping for my own personal use. One of them is simply my name, jonathancrabtree.com.
Okay.
And that's got lots of my research that I've done spanning many languages, Arabic, ancient Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, Hebrew, French, German, Italian, Russian, Dutch, Czech, Spanish. I've had to explore mathematics in close to 20 languages to kind of figure out where it went wrong in history. And it was based on incorrect translation. So jonathancrabtree.com is my previous website. But really, once I I found that all of the gold, the treasure, was in the Sanskrit language and the mathematics of Bharat, ancient India. I created a new website, which is podometic.in. So if you wanted to learn about general history, go to my old website, jonathancrabtree.com. If you wanted to really know what I'm doing right now, podometic.in. People can follow me on Twitter with the Twitter username @jcrabtree. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And people can even email me if they like. Just simply info@podo.in.
That's simple. Yeah,
very, very
that's
simple.
easy to remember.
At podo.in, podometic.in. And what I've even done for children is to make it easier for them, the website also works if they just type in podo.in as well. And that will, it's just podo.in. Now, the other thing that I'm deciding to do, as I mentioned a while ago, is I'm going to probably in about a week's time open up a website where people can register to be trained to become tutors in Podometic. So this is going to be probably for several months. There may well be some minor costs down the track to cover my own costs in running these online courses. So if people go to podometic.in, that will be announced on the homepage there, probably in about a week's time. It will be online learning. It will be probably about an 8 or 10 week course. People have homework to do. And at the end of it, they'll be able to download a signed certificate to say that they've become an accredited tutor or teacher of Podometic. So I've got to use a lot of technology to reach everyone on the planet. So I don't know what all the technologies are going to be in the future, but I'm sure that there will be mobile phone apps, there'll be videos, there'll be webinars, and so much more coming along. So
that's really great. Yeah. So nice of you for sharing this, all this information with me and with the whole world. And I'm sure this video is going to be watched by millions of people. So thanks a lot, Jonathan. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much. Namaste to everybody
Namaste.
watching this.
Namaste.
Thank you very much for your time.
Namaste.
Papaya.